You're with Sean Jung and Where the Veil Grows Thin, an exploration of the sacred moments of our human experience in life and death, joy and sorrow, birth and end of life. It's the unscripted instant when the heart opens, the face-to-face moments with the divine.
Hi, welcome to a new episode on Where the Veil Grows Thin. I'm Sean Jung, your host, and and Ben Leroy is with me again today. Yeah, he's always with me. You just don't always see him, but today you get to see him and hear him. But I want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. So I'm constantly amazed by the enormity of things that I don't know. And even with severely restricting my personal exposure to social media the past couple of months, I live with someone who thrives on being informed. So I have a lot of secondary exposure, what I like to call secondary trauma, from the background sounds of television and radio news programs. And the other day, somewhere, and I'm sorry I can't tell you who it was, I heard someone use the phrase metastatic fear. Now, I had only heard the word metastatic used in reference to cancers that have spread, cancer that jumps the barriers of where it was initially found to invade other organs and parts of the body. But when I heard the phrase metastatic fear, I got it right away. And then immediately, because I am who I am, I plugged in metastatic grief for a way to sort of describe what it feels like sometimes on the planet right now. But then I was walking Toby, and I started thinking about how do emotions metastasize, and why can't it be metastatic joy? And Ben and I started to talk about it, and Ben said, let's just do a podcast about it. So, I mean, do an episode on the podcast. So that's what we're here to talk about is metastatic joy. I didn't look up the word metastatic. I probably should have, because maybe it can't be good. Maybe it's just always something that's an illness. But I like the word metastatic. And so we're going to talk about metastatic joy. Ben, welcome.
Well, thank you, Sean. And just breaking down the word metastatic, I don't see why it has to be a negative thing. And if Merriam Webster wants to challenge me on that, I believe that I can provide at least a 2-minute dissertation on why metastatic can also be a positive thing.
I wanted to jump the barriers of what we typically, where we typically think we're going to find joy. I wanted to jump the barriers of that and to be able to bleed into other parts of our lives in a good way, to nourish other parts of our souls and our spirits and our communities, our households.
One of the things when you brought this up as a topic, I started thinking about was why would it be that metastatic fear would be something that is part of the zeitgeist and that metastatic joy would not be? And I was thinking back to when I did, back in 2014, I did volunteer work in all 50 states after the death of a friend by suicide. And I was getting into conversations with different people about should you talk about the work that you're doing? Should you talk about volunteering? Or does it sound like you're patting yourself on the back and that you're looking for accolades? And I thought, well, this is interesting because if in a conversation we are hesitant to speak about the good in the world, it creates a vacuum that basically means that if we're not going to be speaking about the good in the world, then we're going to be speaking, then we're either talking about the neutral or we're allowed to talk about the bad because we certainly talk about the bad. Misery loves company. We definitely get into that. And so I started doing research about why it is that we don't talk about the good that we do in the world. Maybe we go to a soup kitchen every week and prepare food for people who are hungry, who have food instability, issues that are occurring on a daily basis. Are we allowed to feel good about helping? And one of the things that I found, and I'm sort of paraphrasing now a decade later, but there was a paper that had been written about the multiplier effect of speaking about the good that we do in the world, and that it inspires other people to do good. They may ask to join us, or they may take the initiative to do it on their own, but it has this multiplier effect. And what I was thinking at the time was we really should prioritize talking about the good in the world and the joy in the world. And the unfortunate thing is, it's not really good for ratings, it seems like. It seems like we want the metastatic fear, and we get into this loop of, let's just talk about the bad, let's just talk about the bad, and the good seems superfluous or inconsequential in the face of all of the negativity. And I think that's just why we need to be more aggressively promoting metastatic joy.
Yeah. And metastatic hope,
Yeah.
metastatic goodness. And I think you're
Metastatic love, compassion, empathy, all of these things should have their own metastatic version.
properties. Yeah, I agree. And I think they can. We talked when we first started to talk about this, the possibility of doing this episode. We talked a little bit about how the vibrational energy of those things, all the things that you just mentioned, the goodness, is a higher frequency vibration, and it's a little less um, magnetized. I think it's like there's this lower vibration of the shock and awe of fear and scarcity and bad things that like acts as a magnet to people. When you start to talk about the things that some people call fluff, which it's not fluff, but you start to talk about those good things, it's not as attractive. They're not as immediately attracted to it. So somehow I think we can all work on changing that perception. That it,
I think we have to.
I think we do too. If we're going to survive, I think we have to. There's, I don't know if I can articulate it properly, but it's less obvious, and it may take longer to realize and recognize the benefits of just being nice, just not doing any harm. If nothing else, just don't hurt anything today. And then, one day soon, instead of just not hurting anything, not adding to the vibration and the noise of all the things that are happening that are frightening and um, enraging, that then we can start to see where we could do a little good. Just something. It's so easy. And people will say, "Oh, you and your rose-colored glasses," and people can say that. It's okay. They can say that, and I'll still wear rose-colored glasses over dark glasses any day. So I think we need to talk about it like we are doing right now. People listen to this. They listen to the podcasts that we do, and we just need to talk about it. It's okay to just be nice and to not share the bad news. There's lots of it.
Yeah, it it's almost as though we feel as though we are not entitled to joy. We are not entitled to love, compassion, empathy. And so, to make sure that we don't stray into that world of joy, we indulge in as much negativity as we can, just to keep ourselves part of the order that none of us probably actually wanted to sign up for. And it's self-perpetuating.
It is. Yeah. That's a fascinating way to think about it, I think. The whole, like, what do we deserve? Uh, And I mean, there's a part of me that feels like I'm part of the generation of people who didn't pay close enough attention to global warming 60 years ago when we first started talking about it. I perpetuated and continued to do the things that we now know have taken the planet to the place that she is. And so it would be really easy for me to say, this is what you deserve. You created this, you made this bed, you go lie in it. This is what you deserve. It's not what our children deserve. They don't deserve that.
No, and doing any kind of self-flagellation like that, you are punishing your children by self-flagellating.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And if you don't have children, then other people's children. And for some reason, people haven't stopped having them. So um, they continue to come, and we want them to get to know what it's like to be a human longer than a few minutes or a couple of years, and because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a gift.
Yeah, it is a gift, and not everybody will say that, not everybody feels that. And so I'm glad there's people like me who have a vehicle like this to share it, because I think it's important when you do have it that you get to share it, even just by speaking it, saying, hey, this is a wonderful life. And we're all really blessed to live in this country, regardless of what we think about the outcome of the last election or the next election or what so and so's doing or not doing. I wouldn't really want to be too many other places. And there's so many people in our country right now that can't say that, that wouldn't say that, that would like to be anywhere but here. And I don't feel that. I don't like everything that's happening. We're very blessed here.
Yeah, you've got a lot of natural splendor. You have the river, you have the mountains, and within a drive, you can just head west and go to Utah or go to New Mexico and walk through an arroyo and just there's all of these beautiful natural places where we can find our inspiration and our creativity and our joy and our silence from the cycle of yelling and shouting and fear mongering back again. I feel like I'm just name dropping, but back in 2014 when I did the volunteer work, I got invited on Fox News of all places, and they brought me in studio to talk about the volunteer work, and I looked right at them and I was like, "Yeah, people try to scare people, and I just wanna show that the world's not as scary and it's full of good and loving and wonderful people." And I didn't set out to make a statement, but as soon as I said it, I was like, "Oh, like, these are the people who are trying to scare people, and I'm in their den." And it just felt like an act of resistance to just say, "The world is not full of monsters and scary people. There are good, kind-hearted, loving people across all demographics. There is kindness to be found in both the familiar and the stranger, and it is a lot of how we approach the world depends on the quality of the people that we meet and see depends on how we approach the world. And so if we want to give ourselves a better experience, to carry ourselves with a curious, loving joy is so important.
There's so much truth to the idea that what you focus on grows. So much truth to that. We just have to stop and think about it. Yeah, it is. It's true. So if we're focused on all that's horrible, that is going to be what grows. If we focus on the good and the kindness, when you talk about like there are monsters and horrible people. There are people doing monstrous and horrible things. I don't think anybody's born monstrous and horrible. One of the things I have to be grateful for is that whatever happened in the lives of the people who do hurtful and harmful and cruel things, whatever happened to them didn't happen to me. And I am so grateful for that. And there are some people that really horrific things have happened in their life and they don't do those horrible things. And then there are some people that just do. I still have to look at them and say, they were once an infant. They were once a newborn baby. They were once a completely helpless human being. And somebody wasn't nice to them. Somebody hurt them. And so they grew up thinking it was okay to be that way. Or they grew up thinking that's the only way they can survive because if they get hurt one more time, it'll be all over. So they just do the hurting. They do it first before somebody can hurt them. So I'm very grateful that I grew up in the family I grew up in the times that I grew up, where I grew up, and then I landed here in the mountains of Colorado. And like you said, the splendor of natural beauty that surrounds where we live. We don't have to go anywhere, but we can, and we don't have to go far to find even more splendor and more beauty and more quiet and more stillness and more opportunity for just sitting in the stillness and letting everything sort of settle. So I am so blessed. And I'm very grateful to have, like I said a minute ago, very grateful to have this venue as a way to share those kinds of thoughts with people. Because I think sometimes if we just share that thought, somebody will go, God, I hadn't really thought about that, but they're right. I've been focusing on all the things I'm afraid of. I'm going to start focusing on the things I'm really happy about, the things I'm really grateful for. I was going to say, I told Ben about there's 4 dogs in our yard today, and right now they're all outside. But when Greg comes home, I'll hear the bell on the gate, and then all hell will break loose. I said, should I mute myself? What should I do? He goes, well, just let it unfold because there's some metastatic joy when those dogs are so happy, and they are. All the barking and the cacophony of glad tidings is going to be, and then it settles down. But that's what I like to see around me is a happy person, a happy dog. And I want to be that person.
And how great is it to be able to get into nature where you can't get a good cell phone reception and you've just got the dogs and you can watch the tumbleweed go by and everything is just okay. Everything's okay. You're okay. You're actually okay. And and you're allowing yourself the time and the space and the quiet to remind yourself of just how good you are.
It's very important. So if anybody's listening or watching this who isn't feeling like they're okay or they're going to be okay, we have to be okay to gonna be okay. We got to start from a place of okay, this is what we have. Here we are right now. I have enough to eat. I have clothes. I have some electricity and gas in our car. I have lights. I have just simple things that people all over the globe are not having, don't have that. We have so much here, and yet many of us don't feel okay. I get that. I understand that piece, but I don't want to live there, and I don't want to marinate in that. I want to marinate in okay. We're okay.
Yeah. We have to stop with the self-flagellation, and we have to allow ourselves to be aware of our okay, of our inherent goodness, of our inherent worthiness. We have compassion for ourselves like we have compassion for others.
Yes, and not just be aware of it, but to find it if we can't just be aware of it. Go find it. Go find those things that are okay about your life and share them with somebody. You know, connection. We disconnect when we're afraid. We hunker in, we isolate, we don't necessarily come together. And we need to come together when we're scared, because then we can share, we can dilute that fear, whatever it is, by sharing it, letting somebody on each side of us hold a little bit of it. And pretty soon it doesn't weigh anything at all. And we're laughing at the dogs. We have to stay connected. And so if you're disconnected, if you're not connected with people, enough people, get connected, go volunteer someplace. It's a great way to feel like you're connected, is to volunteer. Everybody has something to give. Everybody has something to give.
Absolutely, and when we even if it's just a group of 2, just it allows us to get outside of our own head if we have to interact with somebody else, and it allows us to share our vulnerabilities and celebrate our successes, and that even just 2 people, that's a community, and it is such a powerful human it's obviously bigger than humans because animals travel in packs and pods, and it just there is something about being alive that you want to be around others and to be a part of something, and that is okay, and all of the, negative self-talk that I don't wanna be around people or people don't wanna be around me, that is not helpful, and it is something that may have some barriers for getting over how to integrate ourselves into the community, but the community is waiting for us always.
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
How how would you say that the idea of metastatic joy could be applied to your work in hospice?
Hmm. Gosh, I'm not into. Yes. I think as the often as the outsider coming in, the person who is working with hospice comes into a situation where someone is expected to die or is dying or has just died, helping connect them, helping by saying, "Tell me about mom. Tell me, I didn't get to meet her. She died right before I got here. I never got to talk to her. But while we sit with her, tell me about her. What was she like? What was funny about her? Whatever. I don't know. I mean, I just wing it when I do it. But I think helping to make that connection helps to bring a family together at a time when they might feel splintered or shattered or alone, or they're just, they don't know what to do. Getting them talking about a common denominator, this person who died, because they all lost somebody different when mom died. They all had a different relationship with her, but it was the same person who died. And so getting them to tell stories and to talk. I think that in hospice, it's because the outcome is death, befriending death first and foremost, getting more comfortable about death had helped a lot to bring that comfort everywhere I went and everywhere I go, that there is death, um, because I bring that comfort with it. It's some people push against it. I understand that, and I don't fault them for that. But some people, they're just attracted to that. They want to feel the same way. They want to be more comfortable with the idea of death and of talking about it and eventually of doing it. And so I think there's an attraction there that is helpful. I don't know if that's metastatic joy, but it's definitely metastatic goodness.
Yeah, I mean, joy might be the word where we would need to figure out what our definition was, but you are giving space to the idea of this person has recently left us, but look at this beautiful legacy they left behind. Or did you know how funny they were? Or like all of these things are ways of celebrating the goodness. You're right. Goodness is a much better word than joy for this particular thing, but it gives us a chance to celebrate the goodness. And what you were saying about sharing and all of those words that you were using and all of what you said, it goes back to even like the whole splintered and fractured. You were talking about the reholing of community and bringing people back together and how that is how we face our hardest moments.
Yeah. It's true. I was looking through I wrote a piece last week about the phone and I hear the
I
dogs.
hear dogs. Dogs are joy.
Yeah, my contact list. And when I was
I
looking
hope
through
everyone is
smiling.
I was just gonna I was just gonna say that I hope whoever is listening to this is also out walking dogs at the moment.
Oh, what a great thought. What a cool thought. But when I was looking through my photos, I found these photos from when COVID first shut the country down. So 5 years ago. We live in a little tiny community it's rural, it's not part of a town. And there's maybe 60 homes in this little hamlet out here. And there were maybe 15 of us who dressed up one day shortly after everything shut down. We dressed up in the happiest, most colorful, just awesome clothes we could find. And we made big signs. And there's an overpass in this little place where we are because you have to get off an interstate. So there's an overpass where the interstate goes under it both directions. And we just stood on top of that overpass with our signs saying honk for hope and stay connected, and it was so joyful. It was wonderful. A state trooper got off to make sure we were okay. He thought maybe we were in distress. We said, "Come join us. Come and join us." And he said, "Oh no, I can't." But it was wonderful. But we just came together. We have to come together. We can't push. We can't push everybody away. No matter what, we can't push everybody away. And then at 7 o'clock every night for months and months, people would go out their front doors and just ring bells and blow air horns and call out to one another because you can't see other homes from our front door, but you can hear your neighbors on their deck having a party. You can hear them calling out to you saying, "Hey, it was awesome." And I think it really and truly saved people those first months of COVID to do that. And maybe we need to do more of that now. If we feel like we need to save ourselves, we need to know we're not alone.
Community is so important. Yep.
I don't
Should
know
we
what.
go out into the world and spread
Yeah,
some metastatic joy?
yeah, we should. Oh, here it comes. I hear it coming. Hi, guys. There's one. The mouthy one. Thank you, Ben, so much for this. And thank you to all the listeners and to everybody that finds Where the Veil Grows Then. I hope you'll come back again. You can find us in lots of different places. Ben knows all that stuff, and I should, but I don't. So thank you, all of you.